When the user sends his transaction to our database server, we want to record that statement onto our disk. And we will write such statements to files that are called write-ahead log or WAL files. And these files are just temporary notes. And we want to jot such statements the fastest we can. So we will write down only essential data. We will write sequentially onto disk because that is faster. If we have a lot of these notes, we will buffer these notes in memory and then we will write them to disk in batches because writing to disk is slow, so we want to speed that up, and we will not recalculate indexes of any table. Instead of the WAL files, we will place statements, so there will be no data inside of those files, and WAL files are binary files. So idea of the WAL files is that if we cannot trust our memory, then we should write things down. So it is the same as when some people write down their passwords onto sticky notes because they're afraid that they will forget their passwords. And this is really helpful because if our system crashes, then we will have our write-ahead log. And inside of this write-ahead log, we will have last transactions. So we will first recover our system, we will recover our tables, and then we will look for the last transactions in the write-ahead log. And inside of it, we will look for complete transactions that are not already written to a table. And when we find them, we will execute them, and this is how we will provide durability. So not many transactions will be lost. Now, some transactions will not be completely written to write-ahead log, but we will discard them because we do not want incomplete transactions in our database. We will now take a look at the difference between normal tables and so-called unlocked tables. When we want to write to normal tables, we will immediately write down the statement from RAM memory to WAL file. And we will do that immediately because we want to be really fast, so we do not lose any transaction. But after some time, we will apply that statement in our database, and we will then execute transaction from RAM memory so we could get changes in our table. And now we have changes written twice. We have them in WAL file and we have them in our table. And because now our changes are safe in our table, we no more do need the WAL file. So we will delete WAL file. Let us now take a look at unlocked tables. Unlocked tables are similar to normal tables, but unlocked tables are not using WAL files. So their changes will go from the RAM memory to table on a disk, but the WAL files will never be created. And normal tables and unlocked tables are similar because both of them are permanently written to a disk, and when we restart our system, in that case both of these tables will preserve their data, and users can use both normal and unlocked tables in the same way. So what is the difference? Well, the difference can be noticed only in the case of the system crash. If the system crash, then we will able to recover normal tables, we will recover their data, and then we will use WAL files to apply the latest transactions. But that is not possible for unlocked tables. Unlocked tables don't have WAL files, and the content of the RAM memory will be lost because of system crash, so we will never be able to completely recover unlocked tables. And because of that, system cannot trust these unlocked tables, and during the recovery, system will delete all of the rows from these unlocked tables. So it will truncate these tables. So inside of unlocked tables, we should only keep temporary and recreatable data and not something important. So what is the benefit of unlocked tables? Well, the benefit is because writing to them is faster, because we do not have to write these WAL files, we just have to write to RAM memory, so writing is faster for unlocked tables. So we are sacrificing reliability of unlocked tables for better write performance. I will now go here to terminal and I will start my MonetDB. I will log in as administrator and my password is MonetDB. I will type it and I will set my schema to be VOC schema. After this, I will create one unlocked table, and for that I'm using statement create unlocked table. This is one really simple table. I will insert only one value in this table, so value 1, and now we can read from our table, and this is how our unlocked table looks like. Next, I will quit this session and then I will log in again. So I will log in again as administrator. I will type my password MonetDB and again I will read from unlocked table. We have to provide the name of a schema because the current schema for administrator is C schema. So we have to type VOC dot the name of a table. I will run this and we can see that the structure and data of our table are still available. Next, I will go to this other tab and here I will create another session, but this time as a VOC user. So I will log in as VOC user. My password is VOC and we will see that this user is also able to alter and read from unlocked table. First, we will change something in this unlocked table. So I will run this update statement. I will change the value from 1 to 2. And we will see that we can also read from this unlocked table. So it is possible to use unlocked table by each user. I will go back to this tab and I will clean my screen. I will now create one normal table. And I'm creating this table tab 1 to show you a difference between unlocked and normal tables. I will insert letter A in this tab 1 table and we can read from this table to see how this normal table looks like. After this, I will quit this session and I will also go to this other tab and I will quit this other session. I will now go back and then I will find out what is the number of a process of my server. So I will use pgrep of mserver5. I will run this and the number of my process is 2214. And I will use that number to kill this process. So I will violently crash my server. After this, I must again start my server, that is my database, and then we can again log in as administrator. I will type my password MonetDB, and now we can read from our unlocked table. And we will see that our table still exists, but there is no data in it. Our server deleted all of the data during the recovery because our server doesn't trust unlocked tables, so all of the data will be deleted. But if we read from normal table, the content of this normal table will be available because that content could be easily recovered by using write ahead log. I will now clean my screen. I will now again insert number 1 into unlocked table and we can check that our unlocked table now has some data. And now we will see what will happen if we restart our server gracefully. That is, we are going to use MonetDB stop database and MonetDB start database. So first I will quit this session and after this I will stop VOC database and after that I will start it again. So this is how we can restart our server. And now we can again log in as administrator. My password is MonetDB. And now we can read from our unlocked table. And now we should see a value inside of our unlocked table. But instead of that, we have a surprise there is nothing inside of our unlocked table. So Monet is not like other servers. Monet will delete data from unlocked tables after each database restart. Usually this shouldn't happen for other servers, but for Monet it will happen. It will delete data even if we have used normal commands, so there was no crash of a server. We did everything by the rules, but still we will lose our data. And there is one more important difference between Monet and other servers. In some other servers it is possible to change normal table to become unlocked table. This is not possible in Monet. In other servers it is also possible to do things in reverse. So we can transform unlocked table to logged, but like I said, this is not supported in Monet server. I will now clear my screen. And because unlocked tables are almost the same as normal tables, we can read data about them from systable's system table. So here we can see an ID of our table, the name of our table, scheme ID. We can see that this table is of a type 7. If we read from other system table with the name sys_table types, we can see that number 7 table type is unlocked table. So that is how we can recognize unlocked tables. And we can also read from table sys_statistics to see the data about our table and its columns.